I dreamed the road kept going after the map ended. Just gravel turning into black water. You were walking ahead, but every time I called your name, the sound bent wrong came back as someone else's voice asking, why are you still missing?
Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are all doing well. I know that some of us are feeling a little bit abandoned or out of the loop because there were so many creators that have headed out to CrimeCon this go around. And so, those of us that did not have the good fortune to go to CrimeCon, we've kind of just been hanging out, right? Now, I have been playing Granny, and that has been quite wonderful. Um, love, love, love my oldest granddaughter. She is just as cute as ever. And we've got the addition of the twins. And so, yeah, I'm having a great time. But this was a story that began to unfold, I believe, maybe last, I guess it started unfolding Friday. Well, no, maybe it was Thursday. And I've been watching it, sort of keeping up with it. And then now we finally have some very, very great news. So basically, there were two little toddlers, Will and Wesley Richman, who were the subject of a Utah Amber Alert that went out last week. And the mother came online begging for the story to be shared and talked about and put out there, right? And so, I shared what I could. I didn't have access to go live at the time, but many people did talk about this and try to draw attention to it. The two little boys are Will Richman is a 2-year old, and then the younger of the two boys that you see on the screen, that is Wesley, and he is 10 months old. Now, these are two little boys coming out of Utah that were taken by their father, Dane Richman. And Dane Richman had run into some, well, he has been plagued in the past year or so with bad luck, bad decisions, bad behavior. So Saratoga Springs police had been dealing with either Dane or the mother of Will and Wesley as things sort of escalated and became very, very problematic. Now, the mother reached out to the court. There's divorce going on, and they were to have a hearing for custody. And basically, it's just been one of those awful, terrible, horrible stories that we hate to hear about because they always end so badly. But it all kind of started out on Thursday, and the boys went for their visitation with their father, Dane Richman. And Dane had run into a lot of trouble, money issues. His house went into foreclosure. He was having a very negative reaction to an impending divorce. And the mother of course, the kids had to go on visitation, even though she was begging and pleading with the courts not to let the kids go, that Dane had spent some time in prison, that he had been homeless for a time, living out of his car, living at one point like out in the woods in a tent. and that basically he's the kind of guy that can survive anywhere. He doesn't feel like he needs to have a secure, steady home base. And so her concern was, you know, what are we going to do if he does one of these weird parent abduction things and makes off with the kids? We won't know where he is. We won't know what has become of him or how to find him. And the courts responded by saying, we can't do it. Our hands are tied. There's no real clear evidence of domestic violence in the past. We don't really have a legal standing to block him from seeing his children. So you're going to have to allow this, or else you'll be in violation of, abducting your kids and not allowing the father to see them. So it was a terrible, it's been a really terrible battle for this mom. Anyway, Sunday, she was reassured by Dane that he would drop his children off with the mom as scheduled, and that did not happen. So basically, she went into meltdown, panic. She found out that he quit his job unexpectedly, which was really, really bad because he was in foreclosure. He was already deeply, deeply in debt that he had no funds to pay. And so quitting your job is a worrisome development, right? As she reported the kids missing, they put out the Amber Alert. The cops also discovered that not only had Dane quit his job, but he literally sold off all of his belongings. He vacated his home, and all of this was before he ever picked the kids up for visitation. So when he picked them up, he was ready to go. He had some cash in his pocket. He had basically severed all ties to Saratoga Springs, Utah, and he was now on the run. They were able to track him down from Utah into California. They got multiple sightings in California. All three of those sightings were headed straight for where? Mexico. And sure enough, he's seen crossing the border into Mexico with these children. So the mom is obviously in horror that he's now taken the kids into Mexico. The great news is yesterday, the children were in fact found safe. And yes, they were in Mexico, a place called San Felipe, Mexico. And the FBI verified yesterday evening that Dane, the father, is in fact in custody. So FBI Salt Lake City field office has now verified that both Will Richman and 10-month-old Wesley were with their father, Dane, when they were located, that they are safe and that they are in good health. They are in custody in Mexico. The father has been arrested and is being held by law enforcement. And now FBI, Utah, the United States federal government are all working with the Mexican officials to have these two precious little fellas brought back to the United States and reunited with their mother. So, this was just one of those stories. Unfortunately, we see the Amber Alerts and our heart just sinks because it's not always a good result. In fact, it's gotten to be quite rare that we're not finding them safe, right? So this was, especially on a news day where there are so many like schmurder, schmuicides being talked about in the news. where dads just seem to lose it, freak out when the moms file for divorce, and rather than, starting their lives again, they do terrible things and end everybody's life in the family. So this was great, great, great news. And, we don't get very much good news anymore in the whole true crime thing. So this was good. This was very, very good. The level of risk Dane was taking was so high, it really makes him more dangerous. Yeah, when you don't have anything to lose, some of these people that do this to their children, they're under this delusional state that is promoted by high levels of cortisol, disruption in their neurochemistry, the delusion that somehow the kids are better off if they're not left to survive, maybe in the foster care system, maybe with the other parent. They can enter this delusional state where they almost feel like they're doing a good thing by taking the lives of their children in addition to their own, right? So I agree. When you see these stories where people are just checking out, they're quitting their jobs, they're selling everything, they just seem to have no connection to the here and now, or no connection to a longer term life plan, then it gets frightening, gets really scary. And these were two little boys that I think everybody was very worried about. The fear that by all of Dane Richman's, the things that had occurred with him over the past year, and then the recent developments of him just abandoning everything. You know what else he did? I didn't talk about this. They were getting ready for a custody hearing, and he fired his attorney. He told his attorney, "Don't worry, I don't need you. We're not gonna need to be fighting over custody." So again, another dramatically catastrophic step that makes people stand back and go, "Oh no, why wouldn't we need a custody agreement?" So this was a really great development. That's true, Lolo. It's not just the delusion of believing that you yourself, that the kids are not going to be okay without you there with them. And so it's an act of good parenting to end everybody at one time. There's also the problem with the religiosity, hyper religiosity, believing that you somehow have a message from God, or you're in communication with God. That was at the heart of what went on with Andrea Yates in Houston, Texas, when she ended the life of all her children. She believed that she was saving them from eternal hell and damnation. She believed that she was freeing them so they could go back to heaven in their pristine soul. But she was mentally ill. She already had a chemical imbalance. Her husband had her living in conditions that were absolutely unsustainable, untenable, enough that it would have made any of us crazy. To me, of all of these cases that we talk about and learn about, the Andrea Yates case was the worst because it was controllable. Her back was against the wall, overwhelmed by stress, and what was really a mood disorder, a chemical imbalance that could have been treated with pharmaceuticals, was actually exacerbated all the way to the point of psychosis by the living conditions. It's just terrible. So soon as they got her in jail, as soon as they began to medicate her, it resolved. And then what is she left with at that point, right? So the neglect absolutely is getting no. And the level of neglect was sort of fun. It was fueled by the religiosity, right? And in that case, it wasn't that that the religiosity was like that whole I'm in touch with God. There was no psychosis with the dad and the mother, Andrea. They were just their faith was strong, and they ran across this, I don't, was it a YouTube preacher? I think it was a YouTube guy. He wasn't a real preacher. He didn't have a church. He's just one of those grifter types, taking advantage of people, right? And his preachings were misogynistic and very fundamentalist, and she became consumed with him. But Rusty was listening to the guy too. It was not just Andrea. Together they were, I think if I remember correctly, she started watching him first, and then Rusty began to watch, and they just got all messed up. Like they just got all messed up with how do you live a godly life, and do we really need the comforts of modern society, like the luxury of a house? Come on, you have that many children. Is housing a luxury? Hell no, it's not a luxury. They were living in these campers that weren't big enough for two people. Listen, my husband and I thinking about retirement and traveling, and things like that. My grandkids live in Colorado, and we love our place in Texas, so we'll never sell our place in Texas. But just thinking about, should we build a house in Colorado? Should we, like, how do we want to, should we just get an apartment? What should we do? And we went and looked at some RVs thinking, during the summer we could have our camper there, we could stay in the RV, and then during the winter we could be down in Houston, and that would be like the best of both worlds, right? And we went and looked, and of course, my husband's like, oh, we don't have to go this expensive. We can get one this size. And I'm starting to think, look at this. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be that close to anyone 24 hours a day. I am a believer that time alone is something that is necessary for good mental health. And it's every bit as important as time with our loved ones is important. They're both equally important, right? So, taking an RV, going on the weekend, maybe a week, couple times a year, that's fine. But do you want to try to stay in one for like 5 months together, 24 hours a day? And I was like, no. If we're going to do the camper thing, we're going to need to get one of the good ones that we've got individual space that we can do. Because I'm always going to work. I love what I do, so I'm not ever going to want to quit working. And so they were actually living as their primary housing with, what was it, 4 little children? Maybe it was 4 little boys and a little girl, right? 5 kids. No, it just couldn't be. And that final baby was the end of it, right, Kathy? The postpartum depression set in, which is very natural as your body is adapting and adjusting to your pre-pregnancy state. But because she was her resources, personal resources, were already completely depleted. There was nothing left. She was overwhelmed. She was living in the worst case scenario, short of being homeless, really. absolute tight, cramped quarters with 5 either rambunctious children, crying children, frustrated children. There wasn't really enough money. The newborn baby, everything that you can do wrong, they did wrong. And I don't think they did wrong because they were bad people, not by a long shot. I think it was the opposite. I think they were believers in their faith. They wanted to try to do the right thing and be in God's favor. And they just lost sight of reality in terms of day-to-day survival. And here's the truth. Here's the truth. If I had 4 or 5 children, young children, all under the age of like 9 years old, I would have help. I would hire someone to come in and help me so that it is a controllable situation. Otherwise, it's like you're living in a daycare center 24 hours a day. That many kids in a normal sized house is a pretty stressful situation. But to be put into not an RV, not a glamping luxury motor home. No. They were in a camper where every flat surface had a sleeping bag for another child. Not even we are responsible to some extent for trying to stay healthy and happy. And there are chemical imbalances. There is mental illness where we do need treatment, all of the above. But any of us, the healthiest of us, the best among us, can put ourselves into situations that can exert enough force that can disrupt our own mental health to a level that we begin to have some serious mental health issues. We are all subject to that. So we need to live lives where we're taking care of our needs. You do need some time to yourself. You do need some time both with your children, loving them and playing and taking care of them and teaching them right from wrong and cooking for them. You also need time away from them. Even if it is something long enough to just go take a long hot bath and kind of breathe and have your own thoughts, right? Or have somebody come in while you and your husband go out to eat for a night, have a date night. If you drink too much, if the only thing you consume is religious type of text and recordings, we can all subject ourselves to influences that can make us confused and struggling. But we can also make sure that we develop daily routines that promote good mental health and promote good physical health, right? Need to eat healthy. Probably at the top of that list, everybody needs to get adequate REM sleep. We all need to be sure that we're sleeping okay. We need to have healthy nutrition. We need a certain amount of protein, right? We all need time to laugh and just have fun. We all need time for pursuit of crafting or learning a new skill, new hobby. We must, at a minimum, get a 30-minute walk every day for good mental health, not for physical health, for mental health. The healthy array of chemicals in our brain depends on the use of our large muscles. And if we become sedentary, guess what? The trade-off is depression and anxiety. If you just sit in a chair in the dark all day and you don't go out and get some sunshine and you don't go use those large muscles to walk around for 30 minutes, you will develop anxiety and depression. All right. So it's not casting blame on anyone. If you don't know, you don't know. And that's what makes it important to cover some of these stories. What went wrong, right? That becomes the question. Is there a way that this could have been avoided? Maybe, like in the case of Andrea Yates, maybe it was a chemical imbalance. Maybe it was postpartum. Maybe there was some psychosis. Maybe it was more of like psychosis connected to bipolar as opposed to like full-blown schizophrenia. But every single one of us has the capacity to develop trouble if we don't care for ourselves. Get good sleep, get adequate nutrition, and get that 30-minute walk in. That's it. 30 minutes a day saves you from developing anxiety. All right. Hey, Tiff from Texas. How are you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, and what happened with Andrea Yates was, it was like, here's what you need to do right to have good mental health and be happy and live a good life. It's like they read that list and did exactly the opposite. It was the ultimate recipe for disaster, Huggy Bear. You're absolutely right. Was the ultimate recipe for disaster. And don't forget about this. Not only was it the stressors of the pregnancy and so many children in a tight, confined space, no help, no contact with friends and family. Not only was it those basic things, it was also that they were listening to this YouTube preacher who was unhinged. He was a misogynistic pig. He was basically taking this woman who was really her psyche was wide open to manipulation because of the postpartum, because of the lack of sleep, because of the unhealthy lifestyle she was in. It left her wide open to his teachings, and his teachings were damaging at best. The woman is a second-class citizen. The man has to make all the decisions. You don't want to have any personal wealth because that is an act against God. You have to take this vow of poverty. Send all your extra money to me. That'll save you from the fiery flames of hell. And they bought it, hook, line, and sinker. And listen, you guys, Rusty Yates was not a dumb guy. He was a NASA scientist. So if it can happen to two very intelligent people, don't think it can't happen to me or you or anybody else. We do have a responsibility to ourselves to try our best to develop a healthy lifestyle. I try, Lord knows, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Do I always do it? No, of course not. I fail. Some days I eat way too much sugar because I am a sugar fiend. The other days I say, no, I don't want to go for my walk. It's hot outside, or I'm feeling lazy, or I just don't want to do it. Nobody does it all right. But at least if we keep in the forefront of our minds those daily behaviors that can really help us feel at our best, at least if we keep it in our minds, at least we can try 4 days out of 7 to get it right. Correct? All right. I had that happen to me, I don't know, probably Wednesday. I was playing my video game and I looked at the clock and it was getting close to 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, oh my God, I've got to wake up so early in the morning and I'm having so much fun. And I didn't want to quit playing my game. And I forced myself to. I said, if I don't quit and go to sleep, I'm going to have a terrible day tomorrow. So I didn't want to. And 1 o'clock was way past my required time. I usually don't even allow myself to play my video game on Wednesdays. I don't play my video game on Monday night, Tuesday night, or Wednesday night. I give myself until 10 o'clock on Thursday, and then on Friday and Saturday, I play as much as I want. But I'd already pushed it. I was already over, which was bad. And at least I caught myself and didn't stay up till 2 or 3 in the morning playing. So, yeah, we try to do our best. Of course, we can't do that, always do that. So shooting for getting it right 4 days out of 7 or 5 days out of 7, that's a pretty good track record. All right. So Will and Wesley Richman found safe in Mexico, and the father is in custody, and the United States government is trying to do everything they need to do to get these kids back into the United States as soon as possible. Tiff says, Jules, we just had an explosion downtown Dallas, the Bishop Arts District. Oh no. Let me take a quick peek, you guys. Oh, that's just terrible. Let's check on just 1 minute, y'all. A gas explosion rocks apartment complex in Oak Cliff, Dallas. 100 first responders digging through the rubble. What is going on with the explosions? I was just reading about one. Hold on, I'm going to share this with y'all. Hold on. Share screen. Dallas. Oh my God, look at the debris, how tiny all the pieces are. Oh my God. Is this the one that you're talking about, Tiff? Is there another one? Oh, y'all can't see it. Sorry. There we go. Oh my gosh. You know what? I was reading earlier today. There was I can't remember where it was at. Last night, there was a huge house explosion just like this. Nothing left of the house. It's flattened. The blast was so strong that the woman, the wife, was actually pushed through the air and away from the fire, thank God. But the husband died, and the authorities believe that it was a schmurder schmuicide, that the husband is the one. And what was it? Oh, the wife had filed for divorce. So many of these cases where it's a divorce, who gets divorced? Everyone, loads of people get divorced. We don't need to do this nonsense. People pick up the pieces and go on and have better lives after divorce. Divorce doesn't have to be catastrophic. Oh, that's just horrible. So it looks like the whole entire apartment building went up in smoke. Let's see what else there is here. Oh my goodness, look at that, y'all. Oh, I hope everybody was gone to work. That's terrifying. Yep, every single apartment. Look at that. It literally destroyed every apartment in the building. My fingers, my prayers, please. I hope everybody was at work. What is going on? There's so many explosions, like catastrophic explosions. Orange County has had an explosion 2 days ago in California. Maine. multiple in Texas. Seattle, Washington. Too many, y'all. It's weird. Staten Island. Michigan had one. Oh, Michigan was the couple I was just telling y'all about. Where is Garden Grove? Is that another Texas? Okay. Yeah, Los Angeles. Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Really, really frightening. Okay. Well, North Carolina had a paper plant explosion. Oh my gosh. So this was in Dallas, Texas, everybody. The explosion that you're looking at on the screen, that is, looks like to me the full apartment building has been destroyed. There is no word. Well, let me do one more quick check and see. Hold on just a second. I'm going to check information on Dallas, Texas explosion today. Oak Cliff Apartments. They say it's a gas explosion. Near the Bishop Art Center. Says there are an unknown number of fatalities. At least 4 people have been hospitalized. So they're not giving any numbers yet. Just the 4 that have been sent to the hospital. And that you look at that debris and you wonder how in the world would anybody survive it, right? It's a 4-alarm fire. They have over 100 firefighters on scene. Yeah, this says 4 people hospitalized, more fatalities expected. Yeah, these all look like the whole apartment complex was destroyed. There's another complex next door, but it doesn't look like the same. Sad. Please pray for these people, even those that were gone to work and out of the house. Thankfully, they've still lost everything, you know. So sad. We are living in some very odd times, aren't we? Used to never see these kinds of explosions. Like, it was such a rarity. And it's just like all the time now. It's frightening. Look at the size of that building. Golly. Individual bricks. Look at that. Just awful. Well, pray for Dallas. Pray for these poor people. Pray that most of them were at work, you know, kids in daycare. It's terrible. Just terrible. Yeah, it looks like a bomb. Absolutely, Snickers. Yep. It is still too hot to go into the center. Yeah. What do you know what time it happened, Tiff? Yeah, the bricks are just, it's amazing because they're individual, what, like they literally were just, it's like the mortar was just melted or something. Oh, 1246. Wow. You remember 9/11? You remember how many days that fire smoldered? Just the heat, the combustion of all of that falling concrete and piles of concrete was enough to keep a fire going. So there's no telling how long it'll be burning. That is so sad. All right. Didn't mean to party hat. I was just looking at that new feature and saying, how do you, you're fine, Steady Nona. I do that all the time. All the time. All right. Okay, so good news about the two little boys. And it was just nice to have something positive for a while. Right. Yeah, I know Snickers is awful, just terrible. Um, Good news with Will and Wesley Richman, and pray that, the US government can get them back into their mom's arms very quickly. My guess would be she's probably in Mexico with them. That would be my guess. And now they're just trying to get the legal documents to bring them back stateside. Um, but great news there, and just so sorry about what's going on in Dallas. It's just devastating, and there's not, you just pray that people do the best they can given a really terrible explosion and situation. There's no good coming out of it. It's just bad all the way around. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I'm going to enjoy my grandkids. So you guys hold down the fort. And Every Day with Jay, that channel, they are at CrimeCon in Las Vegas. So she's been going live, kind of doing little snippets. And so if you want to see some stuff related to CrimeCon, she's there. Christina Mack is there, Janice Ballet Flats. I don't know if Sarah Crossbody is there. Basically, the trial tourists are there. Anyway, so that'll give you something to check in on tonight. Okay. All right. I will see you guys. It's probably going to be Monday before I go live again, but I will see you then. All right. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate you popping your heads in, and thank heavens that Will and Wesley are found safe and that they will soon be back on U.S. soil. All right. See you later. Bye-bye. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. All right. I'll see you Monday. Bye.